Functionalism is a theory of mind that identifies mental states with their causal roles. In other words, what makes a mental state is not its physical makeup, but rather its functional role in the cognitive system. Let's begin by taking a look at the history of functionalism. The roots of functionalism can be traced back to the 19th century, when philosophers such as John Stuart Mill and William James argued that mental states should be understood in terms of their functions or roles. However, functionalism as a systematic theory of mind did not emerge until the 1960s, with the work of philosophers such as Hilary Putnam, David Lewis, and Jerry Fodor. Putnam's 1967 paper The Nature of Mental States is often considered to be the founding document of functionalism. In this paper, Putnam argued that mental states are defined by their causal roles, and that this definition is compatible with the multiple realizability of mental states. Multiple realizability is the idea that the same mental state can be realized by different physical systems. For example, the mental state of being in pain can be realized by different physical states in different entities. Lewis's 1966 paper An Argument for Functionalism also made a significant contribution to the development of functionalism. In this paper, Lewis argued that functionalism is the only theory of mind that can account for the causal relations between mental states. He asserted that if mental states are not defined by their causal roles, then it is impossible to explain how mental states can cause behavior. Fodor's 1975 book The Language of Thought was another important contribution to the development of functionalism. In this book, Fodor argued that mental states are internal representations that are causally connected to other mental states and to behavior. He also argued that mental representations are computational in nature, and that they are implemented in the brain by a language of thought. Now, let's consider the question of what are the basic tenets of functionalism? These are: 1. Mental states are defined by their causal relations to other mental states, sensory inputs, and behavioral outputs. 2. Mental states are multiply realizable. 3. Mental states are computational in nature. The first tenet of functionalism is that mental states are defined by their causal relations. This means that what makes a mental state like a belief or a desire is not its physical makeup but rather its function or role in the cognitive system. For example, the mental state of believing that it is raining is defined by its causal relations to other mental states, such as the belief that it is cloudy, the desire to stay dry, and the behavior of opening an umbrella. The second tenet of functionalism is that mental states are multiply realizable. This means that the same mental state can be realized by different physical systems. For example, the mental state of being in pain can be realized by different physical states in humans, dogs, and computers. The third tenet of functionalism is that mental states are computational in nature. This means that mental states are represented in the brain by symbols that are manipulated according to rules. For example, the belief that it is raining might be represented by the symbol rain. This symbol would then be manipulated by rules such as if it is raining, then I should open my umbrella. There are several different types of functionalism. The most common type is computational functionalism. Computational functionalism holds that mental states are computational states. This means that they are states that can be represented by a computer program. Another type of functionalism is psychological functionalism. Psychological functionalism holds that mental states are states that play a causal role in psychological processes. These processes include perception, memory, reasoning, and decision-making. Finally, there is biological functionalism. Biological functionalism holds that mental states are states that play a causal role in biological processes. These processes include the functioning of the brain, the nervous system, and the body. Also, some philosophers hold that there are two main varieties of functionalism. Strangely enough, this one involves zombies. The first is type functionalism, which holds that mental states are defined by their functional roles, regardless of the physical system in which they are realized. Type functionalism is the more radical version of functionalism, as it allows for the possibility of zombies. That is, beings that are physically identical to humans but lack any mental state. The second is token functionalism, that holds that mental states are defined by their functional roles in the physical system in which they are realized. Token functionalism is less radical, as it does not allow for the possibility of zombies. Now we will consider how functionalism is an alternative concept to the identity theory of mind and behaviorism. The identity theory of mind holds that mental states are identical to physical states of the brain, while behaviorism holds that mental states are nothing more than dispositions to behave in certain ways. Functionalism avoids the problems of both identity theory and behaviorism. It avoids the problem of the identity theory by allowing for the possibility of multiple realization, that is, the possibility of the same mental state being realized in different physical systems. For example, the mental state of being in pain that was mentioned earlier. Functionalism also avoids the problem of behaviorism by recognizing the importance of internal states in explaining behavior. Functionalism holds that mental states are causally relevant to behavior and that they play an important role in our cognitive processes. Functionalism can explain the causal role of mental states. Mental states are causally relevant to our behavior. They cause us to do things and they are caused by our sensory inputs. Functionalism can explain this causal role by specifying the causal relations between mental states, sensory inputs, and behavioral outputs. Functionalism is also compatible with the possibility of artificial intelligence. If mental states are defined in terms of their causal roles, then it is possible to create artificial systems that have mental states. This is because artificial systems can be designed to have the same causal roles as human minds. However, there are several challenges to functionalism. One challenge is the problem of qualia. Qualia are the subjective, qualitative aspects of our experiences. For example, the experience of pain is qualitatively different from the experience of seeing red. Functionalism does not seem to be able to account for qualia. Next, it is difficult to define mental states in terms of their causal relations. This is because the causal relations between mental states are often complex and not fully understood. Functionalism does not account for the subjective experience of consciousness. It can only explain the functional aspects of consciousness, such as the ability to think and feel. It cannot explain the subjective experience of being conscious, such as the feeling of pain or the experience of seeing a red apple. Functionalism is not compatible with all aspects of folk psychology. Folk psychology is the everyday, common sense, understanding of the mind that we all have. Functionalism is not compatible with all aspects of folk psychology, such as the belief that mental states are private and that they cannot be directly observed by others. It is also not clear how functionalism can explain the emergence of consciousness from non-conscious matter, such as an AI system. This is a difficult problem for any theory of consciousness, but it is particularly difficult for functionalism, which does not require mental states to be implemented in a physical brain. Speaking of artificial intelligence, let's now examine why functionalism has been particularly influential in the field of artificial intelligence. As we know, artificial intelligence researchers are interested in creating machines that can think and behave like humans. Functionalism provides a framework for understanding how these machines could work. According to functionalism, a machine can be said to have a mental state if it plays the same functional role as a human mental state. For example, a machine could be said to be in pain if it behaves in the same way that a human in pain behaves. Functionalism has been used to develop a number of artificial intelligence models, including the Turing test and the Chinese room argument. The Turing test, described in 1950 by Alan Turing, is a test of a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior equivalent to, or indistinguishable from, that of a human. The Chinese room argument was proposed by John Searle in 1980. The Chinese room argument is a thought experiment in which a person who does not speak Chinese is locked in a room with a rulebook that tells them how to respond to Chinese symbols. The person in the room is able to correctly respond to Chinese symbols, but they do not understand Chinese. Searle argues that this shows that functionalism cannot account for understanding. Functionalism is a powerful theory that has had a significant impact on the field of artificial intelligence. It provides a framework for understanding how machines can think and behave like humans, and it has been used to develop a number of artificial intelligence models. Overall, functionalism is a powerful theory of mind that has a number of advantages, both for understanding the human mind and for developing AI systems. However, it also has some disadvantages and missing elements that need to be addressed beyond its boundaries. Thanks for watching. Please give us a like if you enjoyed this video and feel free to comment to let us know your thoughts on it. Also, check out our other study review videos on other philosophers and philosophies.